friends, welcome to another episode of Craft Time with Ms Jodi. It is actually a rainy evening that I'm with you today, so I'm not drinking coffee right now. It's water. Today we are talking about what it looks like to listen to the Holy Spirit. We kind of talked last time, right, about the fruit of the Spirit and how we know when we're with the Spirit and when we're listening, we're spending time with in our Bible, we're spending time in worship. We're going to see these fruits grow in our lives, right? Like love and joy, peace, patience, all of those fruits. They're going to increase. But you can also listen to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit can talk to you and give you direction and give you answers and help you as you live your life. That is something that we are going to talk about today a little bit more. We're going to talk about putting on our Holy Spirit listening ears. All right? So I want you to go get all of the things that you're going to need and meet me back here, and we will get started on our listening ears. All right, friends, welcome back. So you're going to have your 2 different printouts and then just some colored paper. If you don't have the printouts or you can't do it, that's totally fine. You can just draw some ears. Not hard. So first things first, we're going to cut our ears out. The thing that's going to be important on this one, though, is you'll see there's kind of a middle space here. I want you to cut so that there's a place that you can fold. So if you look on my finished one, the ears are attached because they've got a flappy piece so that we can tape it onto our headband. Okay, so cut out your ears, leave a strip down the middle, cut that in half. Be safe, don't run. Tally forth. Boom. Okay, I got both my ears, now I'm just gonna cut right in the middle so that I have 2 ears. These are my Holy Spirit listening ears. Do they actually help me hear the Holy Spirit better? No. It's just a picture. It's something to help us remember that sometimes we need to practice listening. All right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue my 2 ears to my colorful piece of paper, and I'm going to cut around the outside so that there's a little bit left around the edge of my ear, just so that it kind of matches. You don't have to do that. It's just something I want to do. God promises that the Holy Spirit is going to be there to help us, is going to speak to us when we need it. When we ask questions, He'll be there with answers. But sometimes we're a little bit too busy or a little bit too loud to hear, right? Our minds get cluttered sometimes. We're thinking about all the different things. We're thinking about our favorite shows. We're thinking about school. We're thinking about our friends. There's so many things going on in our minds that sometimes it's too loud and we don't have space to hear the Holy Spirit. It's very gentle, very quiet sometimes. And sometimes it just takes some practice. I'm gonna cut my ears out now, and I'm gonna cut around so that I can see some of the blue on the outside of the ear. Something that's really important about listening, friends, is there's 2 parts to it. There's listening and there's obeying, right? It's 2 different things. So we can practice listening, and that's great. I love that. But we don't just listen to hear, we have to listen to obey. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do, friends, is I'm just gonna cut out these words here so that they're ready to go. There's nothing we're gonna do with them right now, I just want that ready. So I'm just gonna quickly cut around the words. If you don't have a printer and you can't cut out these words, that's totally fine. It's verse John 14:26, and it says, "But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name," this is Jesus talking, "He will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I said to you." So this is talking about the Holy Spirit's job. Jesus is saying, I'm going to send the Holy Spirit to you, and He's going to teach you, and He's going to help you remember the things that I've told you. Cool, right? Now, you might ask me, Ms Jodi, how do I know if it's the Holy Spirit that I'm hearing? That's a great question. Before I answer that question, I want you to cut your colorful paper into strips. Now, I got a big grown-up head, so I need about 3 strips. You'll probably need less, but I'm going to cut my piece of paper into 3 straight sections. And we're going to do it hot dog, not hamburger. Okay? Hot dog. So, how do you know if it's the Holy Spirit's voice? Well, friends, there's some really cool ways that the Bible tells us that we know it's God talking, right? So if it's God talking, and it's the Holy Spirit, then what you hear is going to be loving, it's going to be true, it's going to be gentle. Do these words sound somewhat familiar? Remember talking about the fruit of the Spirit? Because those fruits of the Spirit are who God is, right? God is love. He is joy. He is all those things. Then what he's going to say is going to be those things. So if you think a thought about yourself and it's mean, that is not the Holy Spirit talking, okay? But if you think a thought about yourself and it's kind and it's loving, doesn't mean it's always easy, but it's always gentle and loving, then you can trust that that's the Holy Spirit talking. If you want to, you can even ask somebody else. I think I heard this from the Holy Spirit, but I'm not entirely sure. I can ask someone I trust who I know loves Jesus, and I can ask them what they think. And if they agree with me, like, yeah, I think that was the Holy Spirit talking, or maybe you need to ask again and see if the Holy Spirit says the same thing, you can do that. So if you hear something and you're not totally sure, you can ask mom and dad and ask them to pray with you and see if they hear the same thing. It's great. That's kind of why Jesus puts us in community with each other, so that we can help each other with this kind of stuff, right? The next thing I'm going to do, friends, is I'm going to tape together some of these strips to create a band to go around my head. All right? Let's see how this begins. So close. So, how do you start putting your listening ears on? First, I would say the most important thing is to try and get rid of some of the other noise. It'll be very hard. Can you imagine? Check it. That's how big I'm gonna do it. Can you imagine if you were trying to be friends with someone and you wanted to talk with them and they were just playing video games and playing video games and playing video games and they didn't listen to a word you said. They're just playing, and you're like, hey, like, hi, I want to talk with you. And they're just like, yeah, cool, like later, I'll have time later. And they keep playing and they keep ignoring you. And then maybe they're like, oh, okay, it's later now, like, can we talk now? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, I need to go do this other thing. And what if that happened over and over and over again? Do you think your friendship would be really, really strong? Probably not, right? Because when you want to be friends with someone and get to know them, you have to talk to them. You can ask them cool questions, right? Like, what do you love? Right? I love asking God that question. God, what do you love? And then maybe he'll tell you, right? Like, it's so cool that we get to talk to the God of the universe with the Holy Spirit. It's so exciting. All because Jesus rose from the dead. Blows my mind. Okay, so let's do a quick check-in because I've been moving pretty quick here. I have my headband ready to go, okay? I got my 2 ears ready to go. And I got my Bible verse, and that's gonna go in the front. So, what we need to do now, guys, is this is our ear, and there's a line here, and it says fold. So we gotta fold that. I want you to fold it away from the ear, so towards the color. Okay? Do it on both of them. So color to color side. There we go. Okay, so now our ears have a little flappy flap, and we can tape them to our headband. And then I'm gonna tape my Bible verse right on the front as well. So that's gonna be our next step. I wanna make sure that my ears are facing the right way. You know, another way that I often hear the Holy Spirit talk is through good friends, right? So if I'm having like a great conversation with a friend, and sometimes they say something where I'm like, whoa, I think God put that in their mind, right? So if we are practicing our listening, God is going to use that to encourage other people. So many times I've been really encouraged because a friend of mine practiced their listening, and I know that what they said to me was something that the Holy Spirit said to them. And that's a beautiful gift to give to someone else. Sometimes when we're praying for each other, the Holy Spirit will give us a verse or a picture, a word. Something we do in kids ministry sometimes, maybe some of you have done this, is we use art to practice listening to the Holy Spirit. So you take some time to pray and you ask God to give you a picture. And then you can draw that picture, and maybe there's somebody who needs that and they need that encouragement, and then you can give it to them as a gift. And it's this beautiful gift of like, hey, this is something that I think the Holy Spirit is saying to you. You know, actually, I should tell you, I had a friend do this for me. I was speaking and she got a picture, something the Holy Spirit showed her for me, and she drew it. And that is a picture that I keep in my office all the time because it reminds me of God's promise, and it gives me a lot of hope, and it brings me so much joy. And I am so grateful that my friend had practiced her listening so that when it was time, she was able to hear and see that picture. That's going to encourage me for years. Well, you guys, these are my listening ears. You can decorate them. You can color them. You can do whatever you want with them. I think what's helpful about having these is to help remind us of what we're doing. Okay, so maybe eventually you will not need these. Maybe you don't need them now. But maybe for some of you it might be helpful to say, hey, I'm going to take some time to listen right now. So I'm going to put my special Holy Spirit listening ears on, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to be a little bit quieter than I normally am, and I'm going to see if God has something to say to me. And you can ask a question. Say, hey, Lord, like, what are you thinking about right now? Or is there a way that I can encourage my family today? And maybe He'll give you an idea. Or what do you want to say to me? You can just keep it really open-ended like that and see what the Holy Spirit says to you. I would also encourage you to write it down. If you get a message, if you get something, a picture, a thought, a word, a Bible verse, if something comes to your mind, you can write it down and then you won't forget it, because sometimes we're a little forgetful. Friends, thank you for joining me for our craft today and making our listening ears. I pray that you would take some time. I pray that the Holy Spirit would speak and that you would have the ears to hear His voice, and you would get to know His voice like a friend. Friends, you are so loved. You are loved just for being you. We will see you again next week. And yeah, bye. Oh, what was that? I couldn't hear you.